Okay, now recording. Okay, the main formulas for the derivatives are pretty much done. So what we have left are combinations of stuff we got. So we have our product rule, quotient rule, chain rule, and the quiz today will involve all of those. Okay. Take a look where we are. So we're here, the 18th, 9.7. It's really just more of the same of product rule, quotient rule, chain rule, but harder combinations. Okay, so we'll do that. 9.9. It's word problems, but most of it is marginal. Marginal means derivative. 9.9 is not really that long of a section. Okay, in fact, you can kind of see 1 to 4 odd, 9 to 18 odd. It will not take that long to do those problems. Okay, so what I want you to do for Tuesday is come up with questions you might have on anything from 9.1 to 9.7. Okay. Sure, you may not have questions ready for 9.9, but believe me, 9.9 is fairly easy by comparison. Okay, and then we're ready for our next exam a week from today, the 25th, and that just leads us up to the spring break, so it's a perfect time to have the exam. Okay, so reminder for the exam, we haven't had one in a while, but you turn in all of chapter 9 for homework. There's a 70% requirement. You must turn in at least 70% of the homework. Okay, the questions are just like the homework. I will start class by letting you ask questions up until a limit of 5 o'clock, but if nobody asks any questions, we can start early. And then the rest of the time, we'll just have the exam. And I'll close the Zoom at normal time, which is 5:55. And then you have until 6 o'clock to take pictures on your cell phone, just like quizzes like you're going to do later. So click, 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 take a picture and turn it into me by 6. And then you have until 6:30 to submit the homework. But if you want to submit the homework early after class on Tuesday, I'll start accepting the homework. That'll be fine by me. Okay. And let's see, let me check the chat. Okay, some of you just signing in. Okay, that's fine. A lot of you just telling me that you're here. All right, so I'll get that a little bit later. Yeah, anybody that joined late, I already put my attendance away, but go ahead and put it in the chat that you're here. I do catch all of you that mentioned. Okay, so that's perfectly fine. All right, so we will get started with today's stuff. Again, I'll show you how to do a lot of the evens. And then when I think I've had enough, then we'll go ahead to our quiz, okay? All right, so let's look at the assignment. So 1 to 26, odd 35 and 36. And get rid of the chat for now. And as usual, let me show you what the problems are. All right, so in my book, this is page 600. Okay, so 9.7. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're basically just finding derivatives. They're 7 through 14-ish. Next page is 15 up until about 32. Now, hopefully you can see that. And we had to go up to what, 36, I think it was. 35 and 36. Yeah, okay. All right, so here we go. Going down to evens. Number 2, f of x equals 1/4. What's the derivative of 1/4? 0, it's a constant. Okay, so you should be really, really happy if I give you that kind of a problem on a test. Right? I doubt I'll give you anything that easy, but it'll be part of something else, right? It'll be part of a polynomial like 3x squared minus 5x plus 1/4. And then you just remember that that part is going to be 0, but do other stuff. Okay, so frankly, this is too easy to be on a test as a standalone question. Okay, number 4. The problem says x to the 4th over 4. You should think of it as 1/4 x to the 4th. Again, if you have a constant either on the top or on the bottom of a fraction, I would not do the quotient rule. Quotient rule is one of our least favorites. Okay, instead, treat this as 1/4 x to the 4th. Much, much easier. So what's the derivative? 4 times 1/4 is 1. Then I have x cubed. So my answer is just y prime is equal to x cubed. Again, a reminder, whenever you're doing a derivative, do a symbol for derivative, like f prime of x, y prime, or dy dx. Mentioned that before. You shouldn't just put equal. In other words, this is technically incorrect. Students would sometimes put this 1/4 x to the 4th equals x cubed. Okay, that's not a true statement. You show it to any algebra 1 student, you know they're not equal, right? So they're not equal. I know what you did. You took the derivative. Okay, so if you went ahead and did this on a quiz or test, you get partial credit, but not full credit. You need to say the derivative. We're not saying this is equal to that. The derivative, so y prime or dy dx or f prime of x is x cubed. Okay. All right, number 6, 3x squared plus 4 radical x. Okay, so this one's okay. Remember, radical x means x to the 1/2 power. And then I go ahead with it. Okay, so the derivative of 3x squared is 6x. Derivative of this, so 1/2 times 4 is 2. X to the, okay, we've played this game before. 1/2 minus 1 is -1/2. And we don't leave our answer like that because there's a negative exponent. And also 1/2 exponent means square root. So we should write it as a square root in the bottom. So best final answer, 6x plus 2 over radical x for number 6. Okay. Number 8 looks like a product root. So y equals x cubed minus 5x squared plus 1 times x cubed minus 3. All right, so remember the product rule, f g prime plus the other way around, g f prime. So you copy the first function, right? Just copy it. Then times the derivative of the second function. So what's the derivative of x cubed minus 3? To yourself, 3x squared. Plus the other way around, plus second function, copy the second function, x cubed minus 3 times the derivative of the first. So can you think what's the derivative of the first function here? Think for a moment, what would you put? 3x squared minus 10x, right? 3x squared minus 10x. And what about the 1? The derivative of 1 is 0. Okay, and then depending on whether it's easy or hard, you might have to multiply this out or not. Okay, if you're not sure doing a quiz or test, you can always ask me. But my purpose is not to have you do real messy multiplication. We're focused on the calculus. So that might be good enough for that one. Okay. All right, 10 looks like a quotient root. C of W, it doesn't matter if it says f of x or c of w, it's the same thing. 1 plus w squared minus w to the 4th over 1 plus w to the 4th. Okay, so again, if the algebra gets too messy, okay, we will just stop. I think, yeah, this one I didn't bother to clean it up because the algebra got too bad. All right, so quotient root. Put the formula on your cheat sheet if you haven't already done so. Okay, full disclosure again, if we were meeting face-to-face on campus, I would make you guys memorize it. Okay, but we're not. They said make things a little bit easier on students. So one way I'm making it easier on you is I let you have a cheat sheet, the quotient root, right? Okay, so remember the quotient root? Let me do the bottom first. The bottom's easy, right? What's the bottom? 1 plus w to the 4th, parentheses, squared, right? That's the easy part. Okay, so now how about the top? So copy the bottom, 1 plus w to the 4th, times the derivative of the top. So what's the derivative of the top? 2w minus 4w cubed, right? Derivative of 1 is 0. Derivative of that is 2w. Derivative of that is 4w cubed. And it should be in parentheses. Minus the top, copy the top, times the derivative of the bottom. So think to yourself for a moment, what would you put for the derivative of the bottom? 4w cubed. Okay. Sometimes if you hear me pause like that, I want you to think about it. No, I'm not quizzing you or testing you. You don't have to write it down. But if you get the same thing in your mind that I would have gotten, then you're doing pretty good. Okay. If in your mind you're not getting the same thing, then you have to study some more. And there we go. And yeah, for this one, we'll leave it alone. That's pretty much it for that one. Okay. And a quick reminder, I said this before, see how this matches this? You might want to cancel it out. No, not across a minus sign. So for these quotient rules, you're never going to be able to cancel out unless this comes out to be 0, which it almost never does. Okay, so that's it for that one. Okay, 12. Y equals 5 halves, 3x to the 4th minus 6x squared plus 2 to the 5th power. So that looks like a chain rule, right? So here we go. 5 times that. Pause for a moment. What would you get if you multiplied that times that? 25 over 2, right? Remember, 5 is like 5 over 1. Blah, 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 3x to the 4th minus 6x squared plus 2 raised to the 4th power. And then by the chain rule, times the derivative of the inside. So think to yourself for a few seconds again, what's the derivative of the inside? And then I'll unveil it in just a moment. Can you guess what would be the derivative of the inside? $12x cubed minus 12x. 4 times 3 is 12, 12x cubed minus 12x. And you can stop there. That's it for that one. Okay, so this section is not really a new section, nor is our last one, 9.9. The main idea for 9.9 is the marginal concept, marginal profit, marginal revenue, marginal cost. It still means derivative. Okay, we're just doing maybe more difficult combinations. Okay, like 14. 14, y equals 3x to the 4th, 2x to the 5th plus 1, all to the 7th power. So there's a combination here. There's a product rule. And there's also a chain rule here. So this is a chain rule inside a product rule. Okay, so it gets more complicated. All right, so here we go. Product rule. Copy the first function times the derivative of the second. Okay, so to differentiate the second function, again, I said differentiate. Differentiate means derivative. Okay, so think to yourself, what would you do to take the derivative of this? First, you bring down the 7. 2x to the 5th plus 1 is now going to be raised to the 6th times the derivative of the inside. So can you guess the derivative of the inside there? 10x to the 4th. So there's a lot going on. Okay, all of this mess right now is first times derivative of the second. Plus the other way around, second function. So copy the second function, 2x to the 5th plus 1 to the 7th power, multiplied by the derivative of the first. Okay, so think to yourself for a few seconds, what's the derivative of the first function right here? 3x to the 4th. 12x cubed. Okay, again, I'm not quizzing you per se right now, but if you think in your mind 12x cubed and you see the 12x cubed, great. If you think to yourself something else, then you got to double check yourself. Okay, this one, it's worth cleaning up simple things like 3 times 7 times 10. That's 210. And you should multiply x to the 4th times x to the 4th is x to the 8th. Okay, so best final answer, 210 x to the 8th. Okay, 210 is 3 times 7 times 10. 3 times 7 is 21. 21 times 10 is 210. X to the 4th times x to the 4th is x to the 8th. And there's that 2x plus 5 to the 1 to the 6th power. And then this one, normally you put the easier one in front. So 12x cubed comes in front, and then 2x to the 5th plus 1 to the 7th power. Okay. All right, and I see some stuff in the chat. Let me check. Some of you probably just got in now. Okay, so I see that. Okay, showed up. Some of you just showed up. Okay, so if you just showed up, please put your name in the chat so I'll get you for attendance a little bit later. All right. All right, so I reached the bottom of the paper. Let me do my focusing thing again. So raise up the paper. So in case when I put it down like that, you say it's not focused. So that you can check the video later. Again, you say I'm going too fast. Well, remember you can always pause the video, pause and rewind, fast forward as much as you want. Okay, so I'm moving on to 16 now. Okay, so 16, some more stuff in the chat. Okay, others of you just joined. Okay, so if you just joined, okay, and others, all right, okay. So if you came late, I'm going through 9.7. You can check the video later. And then when I'm done, I'll give you the quiz. All right, 16 is sort of similar. It's a product, but this is a chain rule on top of it. So very similar. So product root, first function times the derivative of the second. So think to yourself, how would you take the derivative of the second? What happens to 2? Come in front. X to the fourth plus 5x raised to the 1. Well, if you raise it to the 1, you don't have to write it, right? Then by the chain root times the derivative of the inside. So think to yourself, or you could write it down. Some of you are writing what I have. Okay, what's the derivative of the inside? Either write it down or think in your head. 4x cubed plus 5, right? So if you're thinking or writing the same thing as me, great, you're doing well. If not, got to review a little bit. Okay, plus the second function, I decided to scroll down. Okay, some problems get really, really long. So instead of keep going this way, I decided to scroll down. Okay, second function, copy it. Times derivative of the first. Okay, so think to yourself, what would you put for the derivative of the first function, 5x cubed plus 1? (15x squared). Okay, and for this one, I don't really see any great advantage of doing anything more. So that's it, we'll just stop. Okay, 18. Y equals x squared minus 3 to the fourth over x. Quotient rule, but that's a chain rule. So it's a chain rule inside a quotient rule. So y prime, again, you have to give me some derivative symbol, y prime dy dx. And again, let me do the easy one first. What's the bottom going to be? X squared. Now the top. Bottom times the derivative of the top. Okay, so x, that's the bottom. Now the derivative of the top, 4 x squared minus 3 cubed times the derivative of the inside, which is 2x, minus the top. Copy the top, x squared minus 3 to the fourth power times the derivative of the bottom. What's the derivative of the bottom? 1. Well, if it's times 1, you don't have to write it. So there we go. Okay, and what did I do? I just did easy stuff, like 4 times 2 is 8, x times x is x squared, and that's about it. Okay, so final answer I have is 8x squared, parentheses, x squared minus 3 cubed, minus x squared minus 3 to the fourth, all over x squared. Now, technically, you could actually do more. I don't think it's worth it, in my opinion. So if you look in the back of the book and it doesn't match, well, actually, you can't look in the back of the book anyway because it's even. Okay, so sorry about that. But you could factor out x squared minus 3 cubed, right? That is x squared minus 3 cubed. That is x squared minus 3 to the fourth power. So you could factor out an x squared minus 3 cubed and then keep going after that, but again, I don't really think it's worth it. Okay, 20. Okay. You have blah, blah, blah to the 4th power. You could take it as is. I think it's easier if you distribute the 4, put the 4 there and the 4 there. 4 minus t squared to the 4th power. T squared plus 5t to the 4th power. It's a product. So it's going to be a product rule, but a chain rule inside each, right? Because somewhere you have to differentiate that product chain rule, and then somewhere you have to differentiate that, also a chain rule. Okay, so here we go. Copy the first function, s prime, 4 minus t squared to the 4th power, times the derivative of the second, 4 t squared plus 5t raised to the 3rd. Then by the chain rule times the derivative of the inside. So think to yourself or write down, what's the derivative of the inside? 2t plus 5. And I decided to scroll down, so to speak, plus the other way around. Second function, copy the second function, t squared plus 5t to the 4th power, times the derivative of the first. 4 minus t squared raised to the 3rd power times the derivative of the inside. So what's the derivative of 4 minus t squared? Negative 2t. Okay, and to save time, I didn't keep going with this, but what you could do is change this to negative 8, right? 4 times negative 2 is negative 8t, and there's really nothing to do there. But to save time, I'm just going to keep going. So yeah, on a quiz or homework or a test, you should keep going right over here. You should keep going, but to save time, I'm not going to keep going. I'll just keep doing more stuff. Okay, 22 is similar, except they give me a negative exponent, which is not nice. Okay, they have x cubed times x squared plus 1 to the negative 3rd power. Now, to make this problem much easier, it's better to just distribute this out first. Okay, so in other words, I did x cubed times x squared, x to the 5th, and then x cubed plus 1 is x cubed. So I changed it to this problem, and that's a much nicer problem. Okay. And furthermore, the problem started off with a negative exponent. If you look in the text, it gives you a negative exponent. That means I'm allowed to leave my answer as a negative exponent. Okay, a little bit of an advantage. All right, so here we go. C prime of x, derivative. What happens to negative 3? Comes down. Copy the x to the 5th plus x cubed. The new exponent is going to be raised to the negative 4. Watch out, it's not negative 2. If you subtract 1, it's not negative 2, it's negative 4, right? And then by the chain rule, times the derivative of the inside. So can you guess the derivative of the inside? 5x to the 4th plus 3x squared. That's it. And again, is it acceptable to stop right here? Yes, the original problem had a negative exponent. I can leave it with a negative exponent. But if the original did not have a negative exponent, then all I would do is bring this downstairs, right? So the negative 3 would stay upstairs, that would stay upstairs, and then divided by blah, blah, blah to the positive 4th power. Okay. All right, I reached the end of the paper. Let me raise this up again for focusing purposes. in case you couldn't read it when it was at table level. Okay. So 24. We're actually not that far from being done. So we had 24, 26, and 36. So I'll be done pretty soon. 24 looks pretty bad. 5 minus x squared over x to the fourth cubed. So ultimately, it's something cubed, right? So first we handle the cube. You go 3 blah, blah, blah squared, and then times the derivative of the inside, and then to take the derivative of the inside, it's going to be a quotient rule. So that's what's happening for this one. All right, so here we go, y prime. There it is, 3, 5 minus x squared over x to the fourth squared times the derivative of the inside. Okay, bottom times the derivative of the top minus top times the derivative of the bottom, all over the bottom squared. Here's the question. Let's get the bottom out of the way first. I'm supposed to square the denominator, right? What is x to the fourth squared? X to the eighth. So that's finished. All right, so now I differentiate this. So bottom, x to the fourth, times the derivative of the top. So what's the derivative of 5 minus x squared? Negative 2x. Minus the top, 5 minus x squared, times the derivative of the bottom. What's the derivative of x to the fourth? 4x cubed. And there we go. So again, you probably could simplify this a little bit, but I'm not going to do that right now. If you had to simplify it, this would be negative 2x to the fifth, right? And you could distribute this. So there'd be looks like there's going to be an x to the fifth also there. Okay, so I wouldn't touch this, but maybe on a quiz or an exam, you should clean this up a little bit. But to save time, I'm focusing on the calculus. You can do the algebra very easily right there. But otherwise, that's pretty much about it for that one. Okay. All right, and then jumping over here to 26. Okay, so 3x cubed minus 4x cubed, 4x squared minus 8 squared. So once again, it's a product root, but inside each product is a chain root. Okay, so quite messy, obviously. All right, so product root, copy the first function, 3x cubed minus 4x cubed, times the derivative of the second. So what's the derivative of the second? 2, 4x squared minus 8 raised to the 1, but if it's raised to the 1, you don't have to put it. Times the derivative of the inside. What's the derivative of the inside? 8x. Plus, other way around, second function. Copy the second function. There it is. 4x squared minus 8 squared. Times the derivative of the first. Derivative of the first. 3. 3x cubed minus 4x raised to the second squared times the derivative of the inside. What's the derivative of this thing right here? 9x squared minus 4. All right, then a little bit of touch up. Let's see, what did I do? I did 2 times 8, which is 16x. And then just copy the rest of the stuff. 3x cubed minus 4x, quantity cubed, 4x squared minus 8, plus, that's a plus there. There's supposed to be a plus here. When I did it, I forgot to put the plus, sorry. There's a plus right in here. And then what did I do right here? I multiplied to 3 times the 9x squared minus 4. That seemed to be pretty easy. So 27x squared minus 12. And then I left that alone. And I left that alone. Okay, that says 4x squared minus 8 squared in case you can't read it. And that's 27x squared minus 12. Okay. All right, folks, 36, and then I'm done. And then if nobody has any question, we can start the quiz. And you should have plenty of time for the quiz. So you have at least half an hour for the quiz. Okay, so problem 36. All right, so I was able to show you all the evens that are just like that. And again, 1 is like 2, 3 is like 4, 5 is like 6, and so on. And 35 is like 36. So I'll show you 36, and then I'll be done. So I should be done in about 2 or 3 minutes. Then I'll let you ask questions, and if you don't have any, we can just start the quiz. So 36, where'd it go? Where's 36? Okay, revenue function, R of X is blah, blah, blah. X is thousands of units. R is thousands of dollars. Find the marginal revenue, derivative, when 200 units are sold. Okay, and one thing about this, the formula is in thousands. So see where it says 2,000 units? You're plugging in 2, not 2,000. Okay, it says 2,000 units, but if you look at the directions there, sorry, can't get right there and there. X is in thousands and R is also thousands. So when it says 2,000 units, you're plugging in 2. And then B, how is revenue changing when 2,000 units were sold? Okay, so I take a derivative and I plug in 2. That's basically it. So the revenue function is 15 times 2x plus 1 to the negative 1 plus 30x minus 15. That's a minus there, sorry. All right, so the derivative. Negative 1 comes down, hits the 15, negative 15. 2x plus 1 to the negative 2 power times the derivative of the inside. Derivative 2x plus 1, 2. Plus derivative of 30x is 30. Derivative of negative 15 is 0. Okay, clean this up. Negative 15 times 2 is a negative 30 divided by 2x plus 1 squared plus 30. All right, so now they say plug in, it said 2,000 units, but again, 2,000 units means X is 2. So I plug in 2. So put a 2 right there. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So negative 30 over 25 plus 30. And you crunch it out, it's 28.8. But the units again are thousands. This is thousands of dollars. So write the answer as 28,800. Okay. So the answer to part B, how is revenue changing? Revenue is changing by $28,800 per 1,000 units sold at a production level of 2,000. Okay. So if I sell another 1,000 units, I expect my revenue to go up by 28,800. Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, and I'm finished, folks. Okay, so I'll do my little focusing thing real quickly. And if you have any questions, you can either unmute yourself or put it in the chat. And if you don't, then we can just go ahead and start the quiz, and that'll be it. Okay, so focus job here. And that's for 26. Okay, and we're finished. All right, so any questions, please? Either unmute yourself or put it in the chat, and if not, we'll go to the quiz and that'll do it. All right, I don't see or hear anything, so we can start the quiz. Okay, so a quick reminder again. So I'm finished with 9.7. 9.9 will be very easy to finish, and I made it that way. So if you have any questions about anything here, bring it up next Tuesday. Okay. So I'll finish fairly fast next Tuesday. Then we can have a question and answer session. And then Thursday, I'll start with question and answer session. But if you ask most of your questions on Tuesday, then we don't have to have as many questions on Thursday, and then you have more time for the test. All right. So that's the way that's going to work. Okay, so that'll do it. Okay, so let me get the quiz, get your cell phones for picture or be able to do a screenshot. And then I'll set you in your breakout rooms as usual. Okay, so here we go. Hopefully you can see it. Okay, find the derivatives. So number one, f of x is 3x squared minus 7x plus 1 to the 4th power. That looks like a chain rule. Number two, y equals 3x minus 10 times 9x squared plus 2x minus 4. Use a product rule, but do not simplify, it says. Number three, f of x is x minus 3 over x plus 1. It says use the quotient rule, but this time do simplify. Okay, so do keep going for that one. Okay. And let me see, the exam is next Thursday, if somebody wasn't sure about that. Okay, so I'll hold this for another 15 seconds or so. Okay, so please get it in your cell phone or do a screenshot, and then I'll make it disappear. And I'll give you a hint again. Number one, chain rule. Number two, product rule. Number three, quotient rule. Okay. And as always, put your first and last name, put first and last name of everybody else in your group. Okay, and don't leave once you get it all finished. Make sure everybody else in your group has it right. Again, I'll grade only one person's quiz, so you don't know who I'm going to grade. So to be safe, make sure everybody in your group has it right before you disappear. Okay, so you have the rest of the time, more than half an hour to do this. So go ahead and get started. I'll set up your breakout room, so give me a minute to do that. And then I'll set you into your groups. Okay.